So trying to figure out if your dependents must file a tax return is a lot harder. So a dependent is somebody that you're claiming on your tax return. And so now you have to determine if they have to file a tax return for themselves. So let's take a look at the requirements to determine if your dependents have to file. So determining if your dependents have to file a tax return is really easy because the IRS makes everything easy, right? Yeah. They don't. But anyway, they do give you this nice table, and you just got to answer these questions. And the IRS is famous for making these tables where you just answer questions, and hopefully you can figure out what you need to do. Um, so it gets a little confusing because they have this unearned income, earned income, and gross income, and they all have different amounts. And this one gets even crazier if your gross income was the larger of 1,050 or your earned income plus $350. It's very confusing. Why did they do all of this? Well, the quick and short answer is due to the kiddie tax. This was very common back in the 80s. Parents would put investments and stuff in their kids' name to take advantage of the lower tax rates that their children have, and then they would take the money back right before they turned 18, and then the kids could have made off with it when they were 18. So to do away with that, they've come up with these changes in the kiddie tax, and they've really made it confusing with the TCJA. They really really ramped it up a notch. So now when kids have unearned income, and unearned income is just things like interest and dividends or capital gains, those are things that you can earn without lifting a finger. So that's unearned income. Earned income, on the other hand, are things that you went out and worked for, such as wages, self-employment. That's earned income. So your unearned income is determined by the tax brackets for trusts and estates, which is quite higher than individual rates. And there, again, these numbers are adjusted every year. These are the 2018 numbers, so these are adjusted every year. And you can see it jumps up there pretty darn quick. Over $3,300 is easily taxed at 37%. And so that did away with the parents' desire to put investments in their kids' name, because now the kids are having to pay just as much money or just as much taxes, if not more, than the parents would have had to pay. So for most dependents, we don't see this a whole lot of the kiddie tax stuff. Most dependents aren't earning this much unearned income, but we do see dependents working. The kids are getting jobs, delivering pizzas or whatnot. And so they only have to file if it goes above their standard deduction usually, which for single people is about $12,400 for 2020. So that's who must file for adults and dependents. And then I would like to point out that sometimes you want to file even if you're not required to file. So your dependent may have had a job and only earned $5,000. Well, you can see that is way below the $11,000 marker. So that person doesn't need to file a tax return because he would not have to pay any taxes because it's well below the standard deduction for him. But maybe the job did tax withholding on him, federal income tax withheld, which shows up in box 2 of your W-2. And that would be his refund. So if he had a $5,000 in box 1 of the W-2 and $500 in box 2, he would get a $500 refund. And then that would definitely be worth filing a tax return, even though he's not required to. So if you're not required to file, you don't have to file, but you might want to file just to get your refund. And I get that quite a bit. People call me up and say, hey, my child worked a little bit. And I'll say, what's in box 2? And they'll tell me what's in box 2. And sometimes they'll say it's like $4. And I say, well, it's not worth your time and effort to file to get a $4 refund. But if it's $400, then absolutely, we're going to file and get that $400 back. So they did make some other rules about whether or not you needed to file. And there's 7 conditions that you might need to file for. And one of the big ones is this one right down here, this box 5 about advanced premium tax credits. So with Obamacare, there came a way to receive a discounted health insurance policy. And the discount was due to this premium tax credit. And this number was driven by your AGI. If your AGI was a certain level, you got this much tax credit. If it was over that, you got a lower amount. And so that's where the problem happened, is because this had to be forecasted. We had to base your 2020 premium tax credit off of your 2019 tax return. So you might have earned a lot less money in 2019 and qualified for a much bigger tax credit than when in 2020 your income went way up and now you don't qualify for as much and now you have to repay it. Well, this one is a huge one that people were forgetting to bring in, this form 1095A, and you have to file if you get this, because we got to be able to evaluate whether or not you qualified for all the tax credit that you got during the year. And we see this a lot for older dependents, maybe a college student that are claiming insurance from the marketplace, but they're not working, but they still have to file this to get the 1095A on there to show if they qualify for the premium tax credit. The other big one is net earnings from self-employment of at least $400. So you can tell this is way below the standard deduction threshold, but it's not way below the self-employment tax threshold. And we'll get to self-employment taxes later on in here. Just a good one to remember. There are some other cases where you might have to file, and number 3 and number 5 are the two ones I see most frequent.